corporate businesses to be able to lead a strategic and also sustainability plan for their businesses. For the house rules today, there will be a few Q&A questions, Q&A session. If there are areas during the course of conversation that you can that you need clarity on, you can go to the Q&A room and paste your questions in there. Our guests will definitely be on standby to listen, to answer all those questions. Today we'll be having a very short, brief 60-minute session, and leading this session will start first with Dr. Timothy Olawale, who is Director General of NECA. And then we will have a quick conversation, interactive conversation with our special guest, who is Professor Kenneth Amechi. I'd like to put out a strong apology for Kemi Ogunyemi. She couldn't be around just at the last minute, but again, I believe that with the rest of us in the room, we are able to carry out this conversation effectively. This session is going to be for about 60 minutes maximum, and we'll have a closing remarks by Mrs. Selin Oni, who is also with NECA. So, what is the brief introduction, and how do we see corporate strategy from the aspect of green? So, green strategy, as the case may be, as you all know, right, there's so much pressure around corporate organizations currently on how you need to design some form of sustainability plan and become much more sensitive to both the impact of your production or your products on the environment. Across the country, particularly here in Nigeria, we know that there's something called extended producer responsibility, which puts the producer of any product responsible for the end use and how the product is being managed post-consumption. But then how does this really affect bottom line? Does having a green strategy make you better? Does it give you an edge? Does it put you at the right path when it comes to managing your bottom line as a business? What are the different things you need to put into consideration when developing a green economy? A green strategy. And then also, what is the role of your workforce in implementing this green strategy? Severally, we see that when you have a bottom-to-top approach when it comes to a corporate strategy, it helps many of people who work within that line to be able to adapt and also align to what the CEO brings. So now, should a green corporate strategy be a top-bottom approach, or can it also be influential and impactful if it's a bottom to a top approach? What is the line, and how do we make this work? And so in our conversation today, we will be talking to a scholar who has spent a good time, a good part of his career discussing sustainability and scaling businesses in Africa. So let me introduce to you Professor Kenneth Amechi, and let me quickly go through his profile. Professor Kenneth Amechi is the Director of Scaling Business in African Consortium at the University of Edinburgh. He is a leading global voice on Africapitalism, an economic philosophy for the progressive development of Africa. His other research interests focus on sector-level policies for sustainability and sustainability strategies in organization. He has a deep, expert knowledge of developing an emerging economy. Professor Kenneth joined the University of Edinburgh in 2010, and he has held different positions from Cranfield School of Management to University of Warwick, from the Warwick Business School and also Warwick Manufacturing Group, respectively. He's a Chevening Scholar and a Scholar of the International Center for Corporate Social Responsibility, University of Nottingham, and a visiting scholar at the Said Business School, University of Oxford, where he's currently an external examiner. And also that includes the Lagos Business School also. And Kenneth has an extensive network in Africa. He's recently a scholar in residence at the National Pension Commission in Nigeria. He's currently a visiting professor of strategy and governance at the Lagos Business School here in Nigeria, and an honorary professor of business in Africa at the Graduate School of Business, University of Cape Town, South Africa. Besides teaching and researching, Kenneth works closely with businesses and government in Africa, Europe, and Asia. He leads executive capacity building and engagement and consultancy projects in the broad areas of sustainable finance, sustainable strategy, leadership, ethics, and governance. So today we have Professor Kenneth here with us to have this conversation. And just before he goes into this conversation, we will definitely have to have an opening remarks from our host and our partner, Dr. Tim Olawale. Over to you, sir, Dr. Olawale.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I welcome all participants and panelists to this second in the series of our collaborative educative and enlightenment series on the green economy. I will just say briefly a few words about NECA and the green economy. At NECA, we collaborate with international bodies and well-meaning bodies like NCIC, which was what actually brought us together to promote the green economy on account of the tremendous benefits inherent in it, both for us as an organization and for the bodies that we represent, the companies that we represent, and for the society at large. And what are these tremendous benefits? An economy that aims at reducing environmental risk and ecological scarcities. One that aims for sustainable development without degrading the environment. And of course, you also attest to it that the 2011 UNEP Green Economy Report argues that to be green, an economy must not only be efficient, but also fair. And fairness and efficiency happens to be the hallmark of organized businesses in Nigeria, as led by NECA. It's in agreement with the objectives of the organized businesses under the umbrella of NECA to foster an economy that is geared to support sustainable consumption and production, that is inclusive, green economy that is low carbon, resource conserving, diverse and circular, that embraces new models of economic development, and that addresses the challenge of creating prosperity within planetary boundaries. Specifically, we are convinced that our collaboration with Nigeria Climate Intervention Center, NCIC, will avail us the window to galvanize the organized business family in Nigeria to contribute their quota into making the world a better place through positively influencing climate change, resource saving and management, circular economy, environmental protection, ecosystem protection and recovery, water conservation, and natural disaster prevention. We should also, through our embrace of the green economy, enhance social welfare, combat poverty, and strive for social justice. We are open to working towards a qualitative, sustainable growth based on a comprehensive understanding of the correlations between business, finance, and politics within the ecological limits of our planet. Since this is the second in the series of our collaborative, educative, and enlightenment insight series on the green economy, we hope it will be the start of a fruitful and mutually beneficial relationship, especially between NECA and NCIC. I thank you for listening and wish every one of us a fruitful deliberation this morning. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tim. It's a pleasure to have you here this morning. And we look forward to as much collaboration as possible in building a whole new community of sustainable businesses across Nigeria. And I know that with your guidance and your leadership, we will be speaking to the right groups of people and also speaking to the right teams to make this happen within the Nigerian economy. Thank you very much, Dr. Tim. Thank you, NECA, for being part of this for being part of this edition of the Green Economy Insight series. NCIC, as you all know, was being set up to drive the growth of a green economy in Nigeria through venture building, through improving the ecosystem, leading the ecosystem, and also driving foreign direct investment and making Nigeria a clean tech destination. And in doing so, we have to play within, we have to harmonize the engagement of all parties working to grow a green economy in Nigeria. And for us, we think that about 5 major groups of people, five major groups of stakeholders form the strength of a thriving green economy in Nigeria, driven by innovation, by the way. So we have the public sector, private sector, development sector, which is within the CSOs, and also we have the innovation and the startup SME sector, and also academia. So harmonizing these 5 groups of people, these 5 groups of stakeholders enables us to create that synergy for the strength and for the growth of a thriving green economy in Nigeria. And in doing that, there's a need to build capacity, and at the same time build corporate strategy while putting into perspective profitability. And that is where we have Professor Ken Amechi in this regard. Professor Ken, are you here? Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you so much. How are you doing? Nice to see you.
Yes, it's
how are you doing? Great.
I'm all right.
And first of all, congratulations on Amanda being the young Scotswoman of the year. We look forward to see more young Nigerians, making us proud and creating greater strides. So, Professor Ken, how will you delve into the conversation of today?
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me, and it's my pleasure to be here. And whenever it comes to sustainability, green economy, I never say no. So I thought that was a good opportunity to come here and discuss with colleagues. I think in your introduction, you mentioned that I'm with PENCOM. It's good to correct that I was there in 2016-17. So people don't come after me and think I'm still with them. Yeah, but I mean, they continue to be good friends anyway. So today, I know we have say 40 minutes, literally, isn't it? So what I want to do is, instead of giving a long talk, I mean, academics are not short of giving long speeches. So I would rather we have a conversation. So I'll drive the conversation, ask some questions, pull people in, and make it as interactive as possible. Because through that way, we can learn from ourselves and from each other. So if you don't mind, that would be the style I will use, and put up a slide and then take it off from there. Right? Would that be good?
That'll be good.
Okay, great. So, but I need to be given the permission to upload my slide because I think it's currently disabled.
Yes, we'll give you permission for that immediately.
Okay, so while we are sorting that out, I mean, I'm looking at the participants now. I'm just wondering. I can see some familiar names like Dr. Itua, right? So who are experts already in the field. But just for the interest of those who may not be conversant with sustainability or the green economy or the different things being labeled, either as sustainability or impact investing, there are many terminologies out there today. But what I want to use this session to do is to come to what I might call the LCM, back in the days we were doing mathematics, so the lowest common denominator or LCD in this sense. What do they all have in common, right? So, and that may be a good way to set the agenda rolling. I know you've had your first session, but without in any way prejudicing that, I mean, I'll just build on it and see how we can move ahead. So let me start with a question. When you hear about sustainability, what do you normally think about? What is it? I'm just throwing it open to the group.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can upload your slides now, by the way.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, okay, cool. So, well, let's see what people say about sustainability, and then, we take it from there. So maybe and if anyone wants to talk, they can raise their hand. Although I can't see them, but you can at least help me know
Yes,
who.
we can guide that conversation.
Yeah. And by the way, there are no right or wrong answers, so don't feel I'm not looking for a technical definition of sustainability.
Definition of sustainability.
Yeah, I'm just because we have our own understandings, kind of layman or laywoman understand person's understanding of it. What would that be? When you hear the word sustainability, what comes to mind? And we start from there and then walk towards probably what.
So there's a message here from Victor Alagbe. He says that sustainability is practices, methods, technology that are long enduring.
Okay, long enduring means long term, isn't it? Long
term, yes. Andrew Enahoro says for most is geared towards CSR.
CSR, okay. What does it mean by CSR?
Corporate social responsibility.
Okay, corporate social responsibility. Okay. So what else comes to mind?
So from my own perspective, what else comes to mind when it comes to sustainability? It's about staying, it's about mixing, people, planet, and profit.
People,
right? Planet and profit. So while you care for the planet, you also care for the people so that you can also, have access to that profit. So you don't want to make profit by harming both the people and planet.
So in that case, there is a sense of balance. Is that
yes,
correct?
Somehow, yeah.
Balance. So you have long term, somebody says CSR, then you say balance. So what else comes to mind? I mean, if we are speaking to somebody that is not involved in this community and it's not part of his or her work, how would you describe sustainability to the person? Or how would you think that person would think of sustainability?
Victor added a little bit of lines what he said earlier, and he says that bringing it into green economy, he said these are practices that simultaneously spur economic development without any adverse effect on the planet.
Yeah, can Victor speak? Is he able to unmute himself and talk?
Can you unmute Victor? Yes. So can Victor speak where he is?
Okay, that's fine. Any other thoughts?
Feishara Fadairo says, and during that, there is enough resources for all future. Okay, let me take it from the beginning. So there's Loyal Jefferson says sustainability can be referred to as processes and action through which humankind avoids the depletion of natural resources, in order to keep an ecological balance that doesn't allow the quality of that doesn't decrease the quality of life. And also in modern societies. That's quite a lengthy.
Yeah, that must be from an expert, isn't it?
Exactly. I really think Loyal Justin is really an expert in this. Feishara says that sustainability is ensuring that there's enough resources for all future generation. And then Rashid says that businesses not creating harm to the environment can also make profit.
Okay, creating harm. I like the point about generation, more like intergenerational equity, isn't it? So yes. these I mean, very informed audience in that regard. So let's crack on then and say, as an outline, I will talk about what I call the broad and narrow views of sustainability. And then I look at sustainability and as impact management, as well as an orientation. If time permits, we can talk about some of the tensions, because sometimes we present sustainability as a tension-free space or agenda, but so sustainability in itself is very much contested. And if you put it in an organizational setting, it becomes even much more complex. So we will explore what sustainability means as impact management, as an orientation, and probably we get to the tensions. So I started with this idea of what sustainability means, because I know we are speaking to employers here. One way, from a strategic perspective, if you want to put sustainability in practice or translate it into practice, you need to first think about how people talk about it. So the narratives, the rhetoric in the positive sense of sustainability would then inform and shape the tools and the techniques that you can now use to implement them or implement it in everyday business practices. So if we understand sustainability as long-termism, so as the first speaker or first person suggested, that becomes the narrative. So we want to be there in the long term. That would inform the tools and techniques in terms of our measurement tools and in terms of management tools and techniques we use to put that long-termism in place. And then it will inform everyday business practices, right? So, but if I see it as either CSR or people, planet, and profit, is again the rhetoric that would inform and shape the tools and techniques I would then use to put into place to shape and inform everyday business practices. So when you speak to an audience that is not as sophisticated as we have here, they tend to come from different perspectives, right? And given what we have presented so far or talked about, and I'll come back to those in a minute. So because here, I asked you about sustainability. People normally say it's about being there in the long term. It's also about being consistent and continuity, durability. And if you have accountants, they love the going concern concept. We already talked about long term as well as profitability. But if you move back a bit then and say, well, there are two images here. So this one on the left and this one on the right. If you ignore the small print and focus only on economy, society, and environment, which of these two pictures or images for you will represent either the conventional understanding of sustainability or what you think sustainability is? So there are two pictures there. Right?
Yes,
so,
I think I'll go with the one with the right, the one with the green green on the right. Because there's a lot more elaborate, right? So when I
say ignore the small print, right? So just focus on economy, society, and environment. Because what you have, those small prints could as well be in the first one, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what would be a take? Which one would you prefer? Which one would reflect what people think about as sustainability?
From my own perspective, I'll reflect with the ones on the left, the whole Venn diagram.
Okay. Okay. Fei Shera, is that it's pronounced right? Fei.
Yeah.
Says one on the left. Then is that Ize? Is that how it's pronounced?
Goes with
the left. Somewhere everybody's going to the left. So yeah, you guys are on the left of politics. Okay, cool. Anyone for the one on the right? Yeah. I think it's Oreva said right, but I will not bring Oreva in now. So I'm looking at the key there,
yeah.
Okay, Samuel. Okay. So let's okay. Okay, let's say somebody else came in with an answer, right? There is a comment.
Okay, I think Victor Alagbe thinks he's of the opinion that sustainability speaks more to the right.
Okay, fine. Okay, the people who said is who's gone for the left one. Why did you choose that? Let's even understand.
So as the leader of the left wing, I would say that we'll possibly see it as an intertwined relationship where there need to be some form of harmony. Unlike the one on the right where there's a basis, where there's a foundation where everything else builds on. So if my other members of the left wing can add more to this, is this what we agreed? We see it as an intertwined model.
Okay, fine. Okay, let's see. Okay, someone says that, it's all encompassing fish, and I say it's all encompassing. Okay, fair enough. I think that's usually the dominant framing or what people choose. But let's hear from, is it Victor? Victor, are you convinced by what you've heard? So Rashid is also on the left. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Doctor, for the opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
And for me, the reason I'm more convinced the right, I would like to speak to the left, that is intersectional, like more of like intersectionality, intertwines. And I believe that the way viewing it as something that intertwines means is like, in those secondary school, we do Venn diagram, and in the Venn diagram, there's union, there's intersection. And that intersection means something that is common to each and every of the settings in the Venn diagram. And I believe look at that approach means that we kind of limit our approach to sustainability. We try to look like, how can we get sustainability in economy, in society, in environment? How can we bring them together, so to say? But I look at it from something that's more a comparison like the one on the right, we get to understand that the economy is just an aspect of the society, right? And then the society is also an aspect of the environment. So when we look at it from something that's encompassing, we don't look at it from different angles of there's an economy, there's a society, and there's an environment. But no, we look at them from the whole view of an economy is part of the society, and then the society is part of the environment. Thank you. That'll be all for me.
Okay, fine. I think I'm stuck with this man. Okay. So thank you, Victor. Thank you for that comment. Before I bring in Oreva, if she's able to speak, for those who have said the left one is their preference, can we unpack your assumptions a bit? Right? What do you think are your assumptions there, if you're to reflect on them?
If I read what Ize has written, or if Ize thinks that sustainability is a strategy needs to be environmentally friendly, socially responsible, and economically viable.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just wondering, what's the assumption there? What assumption have we made in relation to that particular representation? Okay, let me point you to one assumption, right?
Yes.
We think that all of them are equal. The three circles are equal. Is that a fair assumption? Do you see the assumption there? The economy, society, environment are equal. Do you get my point?
Yes, yes.
But is it a true assumption?
We really think that, for me, let me not speak for the left-wing group now, but I really think that there is sort of no equality between three of them, right? But there's a deep relationship.
No, I'm just thinking about, let's be realistic here now. So is the economy the same as society and the same as the environment? Because if A equals to B and equals to C, we are saying they're all equal. That's what that Venn diagram assumes. Is that assumption correct in reality?
You tell us, Prof. You're the expert.
No, I mean, we are in reality, aren't we? So
help us understand this, Claire.
Okay, so the point I'm making there is that the assumption is that these three circles, intersecting circles, are equal. But in reality, that's not true. In reality, you see more of the right, because the economy, I think, like Victor said, is a subset of society. It doesn't equal society, right? And the society in itself is in the environment. It's not outside, it's not on its own. So another assumption the first one makes is that you can have a society that does not interface with the economy and the environment, right? Can you see that? The part, I don't know if you can see my cursor, this part here, right? Can you see my cursor? Does it come on?
Yes, we can see it.
So this part here, you say, well, this part can exist on its own. Is that true? Is that possible? It's not. It's a false assumption, right? So you can also say, well, you can be here in between society and environment, no economy. Maybe that's fine if you're in a communist country, right? Society. Or you say there is a space here where you're thinking about economy alone, economy and environment, and there is no society. It's false, right? As much as this one comes across as simplistic and it's very attractive and seductive as well, But you may want to reflect on the right one. So, Oreva, do you want to come in now? Do you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah. Yes, Prof. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Oreva Ataya. Happy to be here. And I think, Prof, you've explained it. So why I and Victor are on the right is you can't have the economy exists for people. It's a way that human beings in society carry out trade and economic activities. So it can't exist outside society. So the fact that it just shows that it's a smaller part of what society is, and there are a lot of other factors in society that affect it. Just like the society, which is made up of people, processes, cultures, governments, and the likes, have to exist in an environment. And I think we saw that last year with what happened with COVID, with something happening in society, which possibly can lead to our activities in the environment affecting the economy, which we're still suffering from, or at least trying to recover from now. So that just gives us a different way to think about sustainability, that sustainability is not trying to find a place where these three aspects meet, but understanding that they actually depend on each other. And I guess when we're talking about sustainability, especially from a corporate or business sense, it's more like we assume that the economy is even the bigger cycle. So we're focused on economic results. So probably for a typical business person, the economy is probably supposed to be the bigger cycle where environment is, but in reality, it's a smaller part of our existence. So why shouldn't we operate in a way that protects what the others actually depend on? That's my thought.
Yeah, fantastic. I like that idea of dependability, right? So it's an interdependent system, and this kind of nested approach where we understand the economy to be part of society. And if you're a business, remember I'm talking about how you see a business and the rhetoric of it. If you see your business as being in society, then it affords you a different way of pursuing that business agenda. So we make profit, but we make profit not on the back of society or the environment, but we are doing those in ways that will continue to sustain, like we said, the balance between profit, people, and planet. Okay. So if I take it then into what we've discussed so far, we can say sustainability is about sustainable development. So the way we're using sustainability here is not in the first one, because if you use it here like it is here, I mean, you can ask yourself and say, well, are these words neutral? Are they positive or negative? So the idea of longevity, consistency, continuity, and durability, and all those kind of things. I mean, I was discussing with some people recently, and please permit me if I divert a bit, if this is political. And the person said, about IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. Say, oh, Nnamdi Kanu has been very consistent. Therefore, he is doing something good. And I said, well, is consistency in itself a virtue, right? Because sometimes we just, continuity, durability. Are these words positive or negative? What do you think?
So I think just like you've queried that, right? Many times often we've seen consistency lead to some form of achievement or goal or some form of success, right? But again, you can be consistently inconsistent, right? Which again can be some form of
inconsistent. Yeah, I like that one.
Which is something else. But again, I think I'll follow what Feishara has said, and she said it is contextual. So consistency in whatever context you look at it can form whether you're doing the right thing or you're progressing or you're sort of close to being successful. But many times often you can really be consistent, doing the wrong thing or being inconsistent, bottom line.
And a classic example of that would be corruption. And when I present this in class, I say, well, do you think corruption in Nigeria is sustainable, right? And people then stand back a bit and say, yeah, well. So, but when we talk about sustainability, whether we're thinking about longevity, consistency, or whatever, going concern, but that's for us in the context of sustainable development. And sustainable development here is about progressive, positive, right? Social, environmental, and economic development. So if we wrap whether we are talking about corporate social responsibility, as somebody mentioned earlier, it's in the context of sustainable development. So if we think of it that way, then we say companies create impacts. Every company has an impact. Right? So once and this impact can be felt in different ways. So this might be the case of oil spill or gas flaring. Think about the Niger Delta in Nigeria, or the Bangladesh factory collapse in 2013, and you can find some of the big brands linked to some of these factories. Or it might even be something around tax evasion, tax avoidance. And these are impacts or emission. And so if you think about all the things we want to put in the context of the green economy, they are usually about impacts. And these impacts can be positive or negative. And there are many issues involved, right? So whether you're thinking about human rights in the workplace or in your value chain, or diversity management or health and safety, animal test, a whole lot involved here, biodiversity. So if I try to summarize all of them, I would say they are simply about impact, positive or negative impact. So as a company, you want to make profit. But in the course of making profit, you create negative impacts. You also create positive impacts. So as an employer, you might just be concerned we create jobs, right? We create consumer welfare. We pay our taxes. We build roads, contribute to infrastructure development. We even train our people. You can list many things you do that are positive. But at the same time, also, you have your pollution. You have environmental degradation. Sometimes we may want to exploit labor. Exploitation of labor here means you don't pay people appropriately. Or when government says pay minimum wage, you start to grumble, right? And even that minimum wage in Nigeria, I think it's about 30,000 naira, right? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah. So you say, well, minimum wage, is it a living wage in Nigeria? Yeah. So who benefits, or how is profit made and shared? I think that's the whole essence of sustainability from a corporate perspective. So what we are saying here is that if you're able to reduce your negative impact and enhance your positive impact, that's the sustainability agenda. But sustainability in that case does not translate to money, profit, because you can go green and go bust. So think about the green card thing. Let's assume you're an entrepreneur, you say you want to invest in green cars in Nigeria. Do you think you make a lot of money? I don't know. Maybe once the infrastructure is there, then the money will come. But at the moment, you might struggle. So you might be ahead of your time, so to speak. So, but it requires a lot of innovation to then move sustainability to profitability. So in essence, you need to, if you're able to reduce your negative impact and enhance your positive impact, you create a buffer that will help you make profit. So you have enhanced reputation, employee productivity, customer loyalty, goodwill, even better risk management. But you need to be able to harness these benefits in order to convert them to profit. So sustainability is like setting yourself a higher bar, in quote, especially if you're operating in a country like Nigeria, where some things don't work really. So you can say, well, I take advantage of the poor system and further undermine it, or I find ways of contributing positively to society and benefit from it. But in order to do that, you need to be a lot better than your competitors. And that's part of the problem with sustainability. Sometimes you may do something and you say others will take advantage of you. But in order to capture the benefit from it, innovation is very critical. I can't underemphasize the role of innovation in the sustainability agenda. If you don't have that innovation capability to take advantage of sustainability, you may end up being hurt by pursuing sustainability in that sense. So in 2011, the European Commission defined sustainability, well, in this case, corporate social responsibility, but beyond the philanthropic side of it, as the responsibility of companies for their impact on society. So even one thing you can take away from the session today, if not no other thing, is to think back and say, what are the positive impacts I create as an organization? And what are the negative impacts I create? So think about your negative impact and say, well, what can I do about this negative impact in ways that would be profitable for my company as well. I think that's the key message. And in order to get to that point, then sustainability needs to be a philosophy. It needs to be a mindset. So it's not a tick box exercise. And that's what you see happening in some of the organizations today, where people say, I have this certificate about green or this and that. If it's not embedded, if it's not part of your culture, if you don't have people who think in from a sustainability perspective, it becomes a waste of time. And I won't go into all these details, but I think the key point I want to emphasize there is that innovation is very critical, and creativity as well, right? So, and all these things come together, system thinking, you're impacting others, then your sense of justice and fairness kicks in. What can I do to reduce my negative impact on others? That's where innovation now takes over, and you're able to do things differently in order to create the change you want to see. So, but if you put it in the context, so when you say, well, sustainability is about business purpose, so sometimes we think companies simply exist to make money. But Dave Packard, the co-founder of Hewlett Packard, said, no, companies exist to make a contribution to society. And that's what we are paid for. So if you think about companies and their mission statements, this is UBS saying they create value for all stakeholders. Shell says that they will meet the energy needs of society. Microsoft says, they will help people and businesses throughout the world realize their full potential. Novartis said they will prevent and cure diseases, and First Bank says that they will be the best financial services, provide the best financial services possible. So when I speak to companies, I say, well, if you're able to live up to your mission statement or your purpose, that's enough sustainability. So think about sustainability in terms of your mission statement. Unless your mission statement is not original to you, if your mission statement is handed over to you by consultants, then it becomes quite difficult to operationalize or integrate sustainability into it. So that's why I think sustainability is first and foremost a business culture, a business philosophy, something you believe in, and then you put it into practice. But let me give you, I know we have limited time. I won't go through all this. Next time we have here. But I want to speak quickly about the tensions. And this is important because I think Dr. Bankole started with the idea of the green economy, and it has sustainability by the side as well. I also see the tension between what we call the environmental and social sustainability. As much as we are pushing, encouraging green economy and so on and so forth, let us also not lose sight of the social dimension: poverty, health, education, people well-being, and so on and so forth. The other tension I see, I've talked about sustainability as a business philosophy, but there's also a tension that companies have between profit and purpose. Which one should come first? So it's more like a dichotomy, but the two can coexist, and that's the need and the creativity here and the innovation required to bring profit and purpose to speak to each other well. There is also the tension I see, which is about top management team and the tension between top management team and middle managers. And I guess a good number of people here who are middle managers who recognize this. And I hear this often, when you speak to sustainability professionals, and they tell you, the management or the top management is not interested. And when top management is interested, they may also not be able to push it down or role model it, that the whole organization will believe in the fact that the organization is interested. Without mentioning names, you may hear about companies in Nigeria that win awards, sustainability awards, every time. But when you speak to their people, you get a different story, which allow you to come to your own conclusion in that regard. There is also the tension about local and global. Do we follow global practices, or do we find ways of customizing, indigenizing our sustainability efforts? So that's also a tension. So whether we are thinking about green, Dr. Bankole, without necessarily being rude, but you can also understand that the whole talk about climate change, climate finance, they represent global North agenda. I'm not saying that climate change shouldn't be paid attention to, but who knows, in our context, we're going to be talking about environmental issues. These are things that might meet us where we are than just climate that is far from us, because that mental distance makes it difficult for people to appreciate why they need to do certain things. But if you tell somebody that the air quality in your compound, in your office, is affecting people's lives, it's also an environmental conversation, right? So there's also the tension here, I see, between long-termism and short-termism, especially if you're under pressure by shareholders to deliver. So you know, how long is long-term? And somebody says, after all, in the long term, we are all dead, right? So when is this long-term? Is it 5 years? Is it 3 months? Is it 1 year? So there's always that tension, and sustainability, unfortunately, is implicated in that. There's also the tension between compliance and regulation. Do we follow, allow companies to do things their own way, or do we need regulations to say, well, these are the minimum required for sustainability? There is also the tension between risks and opportunities. In some instances, people see it as a risk to be mitigated. And on the other hand, people see it as an opportunity to be explored. But I'm thinking that the two can be harmonized, so you can see the risk element as well as the opportunity element. I earlier on mentioned that sustainability is about managing negative impact, reducing and enhancing positive impact. But sometimes you see some companies focusing on only the negative, trying to manage it without necessarily thinking much about the positive, the additionality. On the other hand, you see companies who are doing a lot about the positive and then just ignore their negative. I see the more positive they do, the more they can wish away their negative impact. We already talked about this in terms of, are you holistic about it, or is it a partial approach? So that in itself is a tension. And the other tension, the 10th one, is the idea of, do I do it alone or do I work with others? So, and there are examples of some Nigerian companies that are coming together, either in an alliance or collaboration of some sort. But within that also, it's quite difficult because some organizations are very, very particular about their brand, and they also want to be sure that their voices are not lost. But there's also that tension. Do I do it alone or do I work with others? And the final tension I see here is the tension between thinking and doing. We understand sustainability now, but would you do it when you go out of this place? When you go back to work on Monday? What will stop you from doing this? So the thinking side is fine, we understand it, but the doing bit is where the challenge is. And the doing bit can be as a result of pressures from profit or competition or even regulation, right? So, but in all, to overcome these tensions, and I will leave you with this, I want to end and reemphasize the point that whether we call it CSR, green economy, sustainable development, is about a culture. And this culture allows for system thinking because you know that things are connected. It allows for some kind of moral imagination. Moral imagination is the awareness to start thinking about your negative impacts, at least to address them. You have your foresight, so something that enables you to see beyond now, to say in the next 2 years, 3 years, think about the oil and gas sector. It's changing as we know, but what are the players in that sector doing? What about the banks that are lending to these oil and gas companies? That's where foresight comes in. But innovativeness is also great because without innovation, you won't be able to change. And for me, there is a point I'm making, I'm beginning to realize this about what I call calculated audacity. We need to be bold. We need to take the risk. We need to move. Paul Polman did it with Unilever, right? When the market was against him, he took a different route. But you need to be bold. But finally, you need to be authentic. Authenticity matters because if you're not authentic, your stakeholders can easily notice that. I'll stop here, Dr. Bankole. I know it's almost.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof. I mean, you got us all thinking from different sides. I guess even when I asked for questions, I'm sure people were so engrossed listening that I think asking questions is sort of difficult. Only Oreva has asked us that can profit and purpose coexist in a volatile economy or a volatile environment like Nigeria right now, like what we face right now. In your own, in your honest perspective, as both a strategy developer and also an academic, and also trying to have that foresight on how the future will look. Do you think that profit and purpose can coexist in a volatile environment like what we have now?
I think so, and that's where innovation comes in. But again, it's about being authentic. You can't say because you're with armed robbers, right? Then you start, you go away, start stealing or engaging in that. And however, thinking about it, LBS came in and decided to do something different. And LBS is the only business school in Nigeria today that is of an international and global standard. If LBS wanted to be like any other Nigerian university or business school, they could have been the same, but they chose to be different. And that's what I call the calculated audacity there, and as well as the authenticity involved. So yes, there is that temptation to say, well, everything is gone wrong. If I can't beat the crowd, let me join the crowd. But within that, there's also a space to be different. I think at LBS, you say create your own oasis or whatever, your own island or something like that. So yes, I believe it's possible. And there are some companies that are, think about Unilever, think about Coca-Cola, and so you may think about even the indigenous firms that are working very hard and seeing some of these challenges as opportunities. Imagine what fintech can do. Imagine what technology can do. I was discussing with some people recently about security. Although security is to a large extent a government priority, but imagine if you allow entrepreneurs to go into the space, what entrepreneurship can bring into addressing the problem of insecurity in Nigeria. So as much as it looks convoluted and volatile, it might also be business opportunities, but it takes innovation and calculated audacity to achieve those.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. We're really grateful for this. Just before we call it an end for today, please, if you've got questions, you can send us an email at info@nigeriacic.org, and we can also share with with Prof so that we can get back to you on some of your thoughts. But I would like to call on Mrs. Oni Celine to help us round up the conversation for this evening. Hello, Celine. How are you?
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes.
DG NECA, MD NCIC, and Prof. In fact, I'm good. And it's been a very eye-opening session indeed, sincerely. What can I say now that Prof has actually opened our eyes a lot more to the issue of sustainability and looking at it as sustainability development? Quite interesting. Am I on to close up the session, or we should still allow some questions to come in?
You're on to close the questions. Sorry, you're on to close the session, please.
Okay. Let me say on behalf of the Director General and Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, Dr. Timothy Olawale, and the Nigeria Climate Innovation Center, NCIC, Mr. Bankole Oloruntoba, I want to say thank you on behalf of the two organizations. Thank you to Prof Kenneth Amechi for a very eye-opening session. We are really grateful. It's a very, very enlightening time for businesses. I also want to say thank you to all our participants that have joined. It was really interactive at the very beginning when Prof was coming up with all of the questions, and I was wondering where exactly he was heading. But it was a very good way of opening our minds and really getting to know what we have, what we're thinking. And that way we just learned by, throwing up the issues and getting to understand better that the economy, the society, and the environment, the roles they play, how large each, I would say each bucket would be, and how we can all work together. And the DG NECA had actually alluded to it at the beginning. Also, Mr. Bankole, when they talked about the areas where they believe that we can be greener when it comes to businesses, how businesses can, influence what they do by bringing in climate change, environmental protection, social welfare. And then Prof talking to us about the issue of profits, looking at balancing purpose and profit. And again, looking at the positive impacts that businesses are making and how they can reduce the negative impacts. All of these strategies that you have named and talked about today are things that are very practical. And I believe that when we go back to our businesses as professionals, we should be able to make the changes and advise top management when it comes to decision making to ensure that our businesses grow, and of course, that we have a greener economy. So I want to, on this note, thank you. Thank everyone for being part of this very interesting program, very enlightening program, and hope that the next series will come very, very soon.
Yes.
But between now and the next series, I hope that in our own space, we can make the decisions that Prof has spoken about and begin to have a greener economy. Thank you very much and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you so much, Celine. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Dr. Tim. Oreva, thank you for your contribution. Victor Alagbe, also thank you for your contribution. And every other person that's been part of this. Also, Dr. Itwa, thank you for attending this. And we'd like to carry on this conversation constantly every month to share more insights around the green economy and what are the different angles to how we can have a more, looking at a more sustainable green economy in Nigeria. And I know that having Prof here, Prof is always a listening ear when it comes to discussing, sustainable practices and other types of, new knowledge about, how to stay sustainable. So Prof will always keep coming back. We are all in the same
problem. No, we are friends. Yeah, I'm a friend of the house. So, and LBS and EDC and everyone.
Thank you so much. And we hope that when members of NECA come calling, needing your help to help them think through their processes, I'm sure you will also be available.
I'll be happy to assist. Yes,
all
not
right.
a problem.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.
Yes, let's do this again in 1 month, and then we'll have this conversation again. Have a very great day.
You too.
And,
Thank you.
And please be green. Thank you.
Musician life is no easy. I want to become a big star. I'm tired of dreaming of where I want to be, of where I want to go. Uncle Suru, you talk, say you go help me. You say if I believe, I go make a more, I go make a more. I am ready to take over the world, spread my wings and fly away. One day, they will know my name. Uncle Suru, I'm Uncle Suru, yeah. They say if I need to face, I'm gonna become a big star. Become a big star. Uncle Suru, won't carry you where get it out. I wanna become a big star. See, I am ready to take over the world. Spread my wings and fly. They go know my name, they go hear my voice.